Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I have a new course coming out in the end of August called GHL Meets Google Ads. GHL stands for Go High Level or High Level, and I'll be going over my full campaign setup from start to finish with Google Ads and how we integrate it with High Level. So since that's coming out in a month, but Google has actually already transitioned from Universal Analytics over to GA4 or Google Analytics 4, I wanted to provide some free value up front and post some of the course here on YouTube as I'm creating it. So there's actually going to be two parts to this video about conversion tracking. In part one, we'll be going over everything from start to finish, including creating our accounts with Tag Manager and GA4 and setting everything up as if it's a brand new campaign. In part two, which will be linked down in the video description, we're going to be converting a previous Universal Analytics property over to Google Analytics 4. So if you already had conversion tracking set up previously and you know it was working, check out part 2. It'll save you a lot of time to transition over that way. So let me switch over to my computer and we'll get your conversions tracking properly. So as we begin part 1 of the conversion tracking video, we're going to be starting as if this is a brand new campaign, and we're actually going to be creating a tag manager and an analytics property, a Google Analytics 4 property to be exact, for the very first time. Now, if you have a previous version of Universal Analytics with conversion tracking already set up and it was functional, and you're just looking to convert that to the new GA4, check out part 2 of this video, which will be notated in the video description. And if you already have a Tag Manager account, a GA4 account, and a Google Ads account for this campaign, even better, just go ahead and open those, and if not, just log into like the home page of all three: Tag Manager, Analytics, and Google Ads. The fourth asset you'll need will be your landing page and the builder for that, so we can plug in our tracking codes from Google Tag Manager. So let's dive in and start creating our Tag Manager account. If you already have these properties, you can just fast forward a few minutes to where we actually start setting up the conversions. So we're going to create a new Tag Manager account here to just name them after the company, and sometimes I'll include the location as well. For container name, I like to put the actual domain or landing page. I'll put that here. Can't tell you to take out the HTTPS. Alright, and in our case, it's going to be for web, unless you're using Google Ads for some kind of mobile app. So we're going to choose web and click create. We're going to agree here and then click yes. And here's the two codes that we're going to install on the back end of our landing page. So we'll grab the head code here, and my landing page builder is actually in a separate incognito Chrome tab. So here's my specific landing page. We actually want these to work for every single page, not just one or two. So we're going to go into the overall website settings, and right here is our head tracking code. We'll go back and grab the body tracking code, which is right here. We're going to put our body tracking code right there. Let's save that. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to do with your Tag Manager account is go turn on all the possible variables. So we'll go to the Variables tab here. We're going to click Configure, and you just want to check off every single box here. Alright, now that we've got them all checked off for the variables, we can exit out of here. We're going to go back to Tags. And here's where our Google Analytics account will first come into play. So we're going to click New Tag. This is going to be our GA4 Insertion Tag. So this is connecting our Google Tag Manager to our Google Analytics 4 property. And next we'll go to Tag Configuration and Google Analytics 4 Configuration. So right here is where we'll need to go create our Google Analytics account for our measurement ID. And you'll want to come to Google Analytics and go to the Admin tab at the bottom. And we're going to create a whole new account. Name it after the business again. And I actually want to include it with my master account. So this will just be a sub account. That's what that setting's for. Pretty much leave everything else, and we're going to click Next. Property here is where I name it after my landing page URL again. Give it the proper time zone, and everything else looks correct. Now you can just click next and go ahead and create your GA4 property. For the sake of part 2 of this video, I'm actually still going to create a universal analytics property as well. I'm going to create both just so I can show you how to convert a universal analytics property with its conversions over to the new GA4. So you will not need to do this step. I'm going to click next here. Just to answer some of these questions. So for this client, it is automotive, it's a small business. I like to check off all of these except for this one. We're going to agree to the Google Analytics terms as well. We'll click accept. And here's where we first get our measurement ID, but it's actually going to give us another code here or instructions on how to install it manually. But we don't need to do this. We can do it directly through Tag Manager. So we can exit out of this one, and we're just going to copy our measurement ID right here, and this is what Tag Manager was asking for. Copy that, and then we can go back to Tag Manager to configure the GA4 Insertion Tag. So we're going to paste that right there, and then for triggering, we want to select all pages. So you just click the pencil icon for triggering, select all pages, and we will now save this. So before we go any further, we actually want to make sure that Google Analytics is now connected to our landing page. We know Tag Manager is because we pasted those codes in, but now we actually want to test this tag really quick. So we're going to go to Preview and paste in the client's landing page URL, click Connect, do its thing, and we see Tag Assistant is connected, so that's good. Let's go back here to the Tag Assistant. Continue, and we can see GA4 Insertion Tag expired one time, so we know that both Tag Manager and Analytics are now connected to our landing page. So we can go ahead and exit out of both of those tabs, come back to Tag Manager. Now here's where we're going to set up like our conversion tags and triggers for, say, call click buttons or form submissions, anything that you want to track as an actual conversion or a lead on your landing pages. So in most cases for my clients, we're going to be tracking two things, 2 or 3 sometimes. It's going to be any call click buttons and then any form submissions. And for form submissions, we just track the thank you page URL. So it's very important to have all your forms redirect to a thank you page, and that's what we're actually going to track as the conversion, because people could just come click this button without filling out the information, and we don't want to track that as a conversion. We want to The only way they can get to that thank you page is by submitting the form, so we know anybody that lands there had to have submitted this form, therefore we'll track it as a conversion. So let's set up our first call click tags and triggers. So we're still on the tags page. We're going to go to new. Here, I always like to put GA4 in front. Call click. Click the tag configuration pencil icon, and this is a GA4 event. For configuration tag, we're going to choose our GA4 insertion tag, and here we're just going to name it call click. And now we need to add a trigger telling it when to track this tag. So we'll click the pencil icon here, and we'll need to click the plus to create a new one, and here we'll do call click trigger. Now for triggers, I don't put GA4 or UA for Universal Analytics because the triggers will actually work for both. You can set up new tags and actually connect these same triggers to either Universal Analytics tags or GA4 tags. So all my triggers are basically universal. So let's configure this trigger now, and we're going to choose click. And we're actually going to choose all elements, but we'll change that in a second. So all elements. And then here's where it gives you the options for some clicks. We don't want to track every single one. Very specific clicks here. So we'll select some clicks. And for the first drop down, we're going to find click text. Leave it on contains. And here, this needs to match whatever your phone number buttons say. So if it's the actual phone number listed out and that's what they can click, that's what you put here in the exact same format. If it's the words call now, that's what you put here in the exact same format, as in capital letters matter, punctuation, everything must be exactly the same as it is displayed on your landing page when they'll be clicking those buttons. So we're back on our landing page here, and in this case we can see it's the actual phone number here, the parentheses and everything, that's the link to call. And then the words contact us is not linked, it's just a phone number. And then we also have another one at the bottom that says call, and it's got business name there. So we'll need to set up two different call click triggers because both buttons perform the same functions. So let's grab the phone number here. And we just want to copy that directly from the landing page. Paste it in there, make sure it matches exactly. And since we know we have two different triggers here, we're just going to name this one 1 and the next one will be number 2. So this is call click trigger 1. And we'll save. And now we're going to actually add our second trigger for this same tag. So we'll click plus again. And the plus here, it's going to be call click trigger 2. And choose the same things here. So clicks, all elements, some clicks, and we'll need click text again. And here it's actually call. Gotta double check that again. All auto protection detailing. Alright, that's our call click trigger 2, so we'll save this one. And now we can save the GA4 call click tag with both of our triggers there, so either one would fire this tag. And now we need tags and triggers for our form submissions. So again, from the tags page, we'll go to new, GA4 form submit tag. And again, this is a GA4 event. We always need to select our GA4 insertion tag here. And we'll just do form submission or submit. And triggering, we'll need to add a trigger now. And click plus. This will be our form submit trigger. Click the pencil. Here we actually need page view. So we'll select page view. Some pages. And for the first drop down we need page path. Here we go, page path contains, and this is where the path of your thank you page will go. So we actually already had our thank you page open here, so we need just the path after the /. So we'll copy that and paste it in right there. Form submit trigger, everything looks good. Save that. And now we'll save the tag. And we're pretty much good to go as far as Tag Manager is concerned. We still need to submit our changes and preview and test these one time. So let's move forward with that. We're going to submit our changes here. You can give it a description for everything you did this time, but it's not 100% necessary. So we're going to go ahead and click Publish and skip. And you can exit out of this and we'll go back to Workspace. So now we can click Preview. We're going to go to our main landing page again, click Connect. And here while it's open, so we need to test everything we just set up. So number 1 is this call click action here, the actual phone number. Let's go check on that real quick. In the tag assistant, we'll click continue. You can see GA4 call click tag fired 1 time. Let's go back and try the second one. Now we'll try this call button here. And that should have gone up, and it did, so both of those are working. Now for the form submission, you should actually submit the form yourself as a test. This is for another client. I don't want to disturb them on a Sunday, so I'm just going to go straight to the path for the thank you page and try that out. And this should fire still. So you can see here we have the GTM code here. But we can actually edit this. So you want to leave, if you're doing it this way, you can leave everything question mark and after. And here, before here, you just want to put in your thank you page path. So we'll copy it again, go back here, and just change out the path. And we'll try that out. But you should actually test your form to make sure it's forwarding to the page properly. I know mine is. I checked the form and the back end of the CRM, and its submit action is to forward to a page, which is my thank you page here, and it's functioning correctly. So in the tag assistant, let's see if our form submit tag was fired, and it was. Awesome. So anytime anybody lands on this thank you page, it's also going to track as a conversion. The only way they can get here is by filling out my form, which then forwards to this page. So we can now exit out of this and exit out of Tag Assistant. Now the next step is going to be to basically mark these as conversions in Google Analytics 4, but since those are connected up through your GA4 Insertion Tag here, these conversions will show up there as options under Events, and sometimes that can take up to 24 hours. So once they're configured here in Tag Manager, they should show up in Analytics automatically. You might have to turn on a toggle switch to actually mark them as a conversion versus an event, and they should show up within 24 hours of setting up these and clicking submit. So it's always very important to submit to make sure they are imported over to Google Analytics. And it's very similar as well when you take it to the next step to import your conversion actions from GA4 over to Google Ads. The last step in Analytics after connecting these two conversions is to link it to Google Ads. And once you link it, it could take another 24 hours for the two conversion actions to be options to import into Google Ads, but those will show up there then and you can import them there. So it could take up to a total of 48 hours to really get conversion tracking fully set up for new accounts. But let's go ahead and go over to Analytics. And this was the last screen we left on where we got our measurement ID. So we can just exit out of this and click Next here. And we'll go to Home, continue to Home. And currently right now we are not migrating. We're creating a brand new one. We'll be migrating from Universal Analytics in Part 2 coming up momentarily. So we're going to click No for now, or just skip for now. And from the GA4 home page, we're just going to scroll down and go to Setup Assistant here. And we can see Setup Conversions. And click Manage Conversions here. And right here is where your two conversions that we set up in Tag Manager should show up within 24 hours. So we'll come back here tomorrow and we should see our call click and our form submit right here. And if they do not show up right here, they might be under the Events tab here. So you have Conversions and Events. And once there's a list of events here, once they have been imported, you can just toggle them on and off as conversions, kind of like this one here, but you would have a list and it would actually be blue where you could turn it on to mark it as a conversion. And one thing you can do while you're waiting on your Google Tag Manager conversions to show here, you can go ahead and link up Google Ads. So hopefully they'll import from here to there in Google Ads quicker. So again, from here we were on events or conversions, either one, but you can just scroll down to Google Ads links and you're going to click link here. You want to choose add account. Find the individual account you'll be linking to and select just that one and scroll all the way back to the top actually and click confirm and click next. You can leave these, click next, and again click submit. So the link was created. Here it showed you 24 hours. So hopefully the conversions can import there a little bit quicker now that that's linked up. Alright, so it's been 24 hours. And we're going to check and see if our conversion actions from Tag Manager are now showing in our GA4 property. So we'll start by being in our property and going to Admin at the bottom. And we'll go straight to Conversions. And we see, hey, they're both here and turned on to mark as a conversion. Now in some cases, if they're not here yet, it could be a time thing. Maybe it's not quite been 24 hours just yet. Or they could possibly be just under Events here. And so you might have events listed here as long as it's been past the 24 hours as well. And from the Events tab, you'll see things like page views and scrolls and all those things that Google's tracking as an event, but those don't actually track as conversions. So from the Events tab, you'll just be able to turn these on as conversions, and that's all you would need to do for all the conversion actions you set up in Tag Manager. So now these two have been imported into Google Analytics 4 here. So now all we need to do is import them into Google Ads, which it can take up to another 24 hours for them to go from here to Google Ads. But right before this step yesterday, we already linked up our Google Ads account here. So hopefully these will be there much sooner. And that will move us into the next step. We're going to go ahead and check Google Ads. We're going to open this Google Ads account for the same client. And at the very top, we're going to click Tools and Settings and Conversions. Click New Conversion Action, and we're going to choose Import, Google Analytics 4 Properties, and you'll select Web and Continue. And hey, would you look at that? Ours are actually already here. Typically takes longer than that, but we can see them both from GA4, so we can go ahead and complete our full conversion tracking setup here. We're going to select both of those, import and continue, and done. That's awesome. So now we can actually configure some things here. We're going to want to open these up and make sure they're configured correctly. Click Edit Settings, and from here we want to make sure it's a primary action, but this is actually for call click, so we'll let Google know that it's a phone call lead. So select call lead, and that looks good. You can rename it if you'd like, and then you can put in a value. You can match your value from Google Analytics, and we want it to count every conversion and be data driven. So everything looks good here. We'll go back and we want to do the same thing for form submission. So we'll click Edit Settings, save it after renaming it, and then we'll select. Here we can tell Google that it's a submit lead form. We still want it to be a primary conversion counted in the conversions column. We can put in our value here, and everything else looks good. And so everything should be complete for our conversion tracking here. We'll want to give it one final test, but I will say you can't actually test it coming into Google Ads unless you click one of your own ads first. So all your ads have to be live. You have to be in your area, search it on a live search result page, click your ad, pay for that click, and then become a test conversion yourself to actually test it with Google Ads. So I'll say it's not really worth it. We've already tested from the Tag Manager side. We know that's working. We imported them to Analytics and then Google Ads. So if we can get them to at least show in Analytics, they're most likely going to show from Google Ads. But it's always a really good idea to keep a close eye on it during the first week and make sure your first conversions of each kind are actually being tracked here. I will also say that when it does track real conversions all the way to the Google Ads level, it's not instant. So if somebody fills out a form today, you're not going to see it tracking as a conversion until tomorrow. So it's all kind of backed up by 24 hours. And same thing for phone calls and everything like that. So you'll see them the next day. So just be sure and check that one of each of your first conversions are tracking. Now if you notice that you get some of your first real leads, you're 100% positive they came from Google Ads and they weren't just organic or something, or your client sharing their domain, and they're tracking in Analytics but not in Google Ads, then just reach out and we can schedule a quick call to kind of diagnose where you're at with conversion tracking. So those are just a few important things to know about how tracking actually works on the Google Ads side. We still want to give it one final test and make sure it's reporting in Analytics for tomorrow. So we'll test it today. I'm going to go back to our landing page and refresh. And we're going to click some of our call to action buttons for calls. Click one or two. Make sure those will be tracked, and then all we need to do is we can actually submit the form. I will say you should always test it like a real lead. I'm 100% positive mine's correct and that it's forwarding to my thank you page. So I'm just going to go to my thank you page and refresh it. And since I just landed here, this should track as a conversion in Google Analytics and show tomorrow, and it should show my call leads from clicking the buttons. So let's go into Google Analytics and I'll show you. You should be able to track them here under conversions, but again, it's not real time, so you might not see them until tomorrow. And then it should be under the events tab as well here, and it should show those reporting as well as other events that aren't counting as conversions. And then you can always go to the reports tab over here as well. So click on reports, and there's ways to drill down over here too under examine user behavior, and you've got events and conversions again where you can get more of the view of data we're all used to with Google Analytics. So we can go into events and you can filter for separate ones and kind of see how those are taking place, and do the same for conversions, and can select individual conversion events by doing things like this. Now I will say it's a little more complicated to get these kinds of reports and stuff. So kind of as far as I've taken it with GA4 right now is making sure my leads are tracking and my conversions are tracking on the Google Ads side. That's what's most important, because your campaigns are going to be optimized around the actual conversions. We start with manual cost per click, but that's with the plan to always convert to a maximize conversion bidding strategy, where that is literally the things that Google is optimizing the whole entire campaign around. So I hope this video is very helpful for you guys. I know GA4 has been a bit of a struggle to transition over to for a lot of people, but hopefully this got you through it and you can continue tracking all of your conversions in Google Ads.